How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode about the 944. So as you guys know, it's been a while since I've made an episode about this, and this engine has just kind of been sitting in the corner over here for I don't even know how long, several months. Of course, we had some setbacks when I got sick and everything, and then I've been working on the Mustang and trying to do the body kit on that car. But also, because of the size of my channel, I'm not really able to just buy all the parts I need outright and just make all the content super fast. I get paid from YouTube like every couple months because of like the threshold payout or whatever. Every now and then I get to buy another part for the car. So I'm super grateful for you guys for watching the channel and supporting me thus far. And I just want you guys to know that like, it's not that I don't want to do the projects, it's just because of the channel being in an early stage, I don't get to just like fork out tons of cash. But that's not gonna stop me from doing what I can. And today we finally get an opportunity to get some working on this. But before we get into that real quick, I wanted to just briefly mention something. So if you guys watched the last video, you would have seen how I did a bunch of calculations to figure out exactly how strong my anchor needed to be. And then it worked for a little bit. And then as soon as I had the e-brake up, because I forgot to put the e-brake down when I was pulling the car up the driveway, the anchor ripped out of the concrete. And I just wanted to quickly show the reason why that is because when you're counting friction, you have to calculate the force of friction. So the force of friction is the coefficient of friction, which is the symbol mu, times the normal force. So our normal force would have been 69 slugs times 32.2 feet per second squared times cosine of the angle of the driveway, which was 6 degrees. And so because of that, we would have had to multiply that by this coefficient of friction. And I just went on Google and looked that up. I just looked up like coefficient of friction between tires and concrete. And there were a few different ones, but I would say the average was probably about 0.7. So this is a bit of an estimation, but after we calculate this, the force that was applied to that anchor would have been about 1,500 pounds. So I designed the anchor to withstand about 1,000. I used 3 bolts that could withstand 340 pounds of force. That would have been enough, and it was enough because if you remember, when there was no friction, when the e-brake was down, it was rolling up just fine, but then my stupid ass, I forgot to put the e-brake back down one of the times I was resetting. And so when the wheels weren't allowed to roll, we put about 1,500 pounds of force on the anchor. So if you guys watched that video and you understood what was going on, big shout out to you guys, because like I think I threw a lot of math at you guys in that video, but it was really interesting to see how like I thought that I was building the thing to be way stronger than it needed to be, but if you're trying to move 250 pounds, being able to withstand 1,000 is kind of like not really practical because anything like that can happen. Friction is way stronger than zero friction. Like it makes a huge difference. But sometimes it's nice to just not be doing actual engineering and just wrench a bit, because I kind of miss just turning wrenches. Like engineering is not the same as just good old garage fun. So we've got the engine up on the engine hoist, and then over on the table, I've laid out most of everything that I think we're gonna need. So these are the new flywheel bolts. I'm pretty sure that on most cars, they're not reusable. I think maybe some people do reuse them, but technically you're not supposed to. So we've got the new flywheel bolts. This is the old pressure plate, and I thought that this was the OEM pressure plate, but after a closer look, it actually does say Sachs on there, or Sachs, I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce the name of the brand that makes this clutch, but this is the same as our new clutch, which I'll show you guys in a moment. And that's good because there's like these little shims that you have to use to connect the throwout bearing onto the pressure plate, and I wasn't exactly sure how they go on there, so I think I should just be able to replicate this, which is nice. And then we have a new rear main seal in here. This took like 3 weeks to come in the mail, so we're going to be replacing this as soon as we get the flywheel off and the pilot bearing out. Also, I believe there's a pilot bearing in the box with the new clutch, so we will be replacing that as well. I don't know why this is here. These are the new pressure plate bolts that we got. They sent them in like a bunch of individual bags, which is kind of weird, but I mean, hey, it works. We got 9 of them, so those are good. I had to order this set of triple square bits. If you look at these flywheel bolts, they take a triple square, which is kind of annoying, so I had to order these. They only took a few days to get here though, so that wasn't too bad, but it's just one of those things, it just adds to the list. And then of course, this is our bell housing. This thing is still pretty nasty. I haven't really worked on this yet, so I'm gonna be cleaning this out probably first thing tomorrow morning. And then these are bolts for the starter. So I could not find any just like starter bolts for the 944. Maybe there's some place that sells them that I just don't know about, but these are our bolts for the starter. I had to just figure out the thread pitch and the length, and then I just ordered them from China. It took like 3 weeks to get here, so that was kind of a pain. During Vlogmas, there was so much just like ordering random parts that you guys didn't see, and I was hoping that some of this stuff would get here sooner so that maybe I could make this video during Vlogmas, but it just wasn't an option because everything was taking forever to get here. And then some final things over here. This is the flywheel locking tool. I'll need to use that when I'm gonna go back over the timing chain job that I did with the water pump and stuff, just to make sure that it's all perfect and it's timed properly at top dead center, because when I did that before, I wasn't able to lock the crankshaft in place. So It's a little bit sketch, but I'm not gonna try to start it until I go over that again. And then this is just the alignment tool for the oil cooler that I'm gonna need. Because everything is just kind of bolted on generally right now, just to have it all in one piece. And last but not least, we got the star of the show, the new clutch. Yeah, whatever, dude. It's always funny to me when you buy something really expensive for your car and you're just like, God, why did I spend so much of that money? And then it comes in and you're just like, damn, that's freaking beautiful. Like, look at all the inner workings of these things, just amaze me. Like, as soon as it gets here, I'm not really surprised why it costs so much money to begin with. It's kind of hard to convey it over camera, but the machine work that everything that goes into these is just amazing. Anyway, before we start getting the clutch all put together and everything, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the flywheel off of here and see the condition of the rear main seal, because I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna replace it. I can almost guarantee that it's gonna be disgusting in there, but I just wanna see if it was leaking or something like that. So it actually doesn't look as bad as I was thinking it was going to. It doesn't look like there was a leak. There might have been a little bit, but all this oil and gunk that's here, I think was actually leaking from the oil pan gasket. And I already addressed that earlier in this series because this is a fresh oil pan gasket. But I am gonna just go ahead and replace it. I mean, I've come this far, so I might as well. And I have a new pilot bearing, so we're gonna get that in there too. Alright, so this is the new seal. I wish I had one of those little seal tapper things so that way I could put it in uniformly, but I don't have one of those, so I'm just gonna do my best to kind of get it started here. Just tap it real gently. There we go. Now I'm gonna use the old seal. I'm gonna use like the outside edge of it and I'm gonna flip it over on itself like this, just so that way I'm not hitting the new seal directly. It might make this take a little longer, but I'd rather just be hitting something that I don't actually care about. And there you have it. New rear main seal installed. Alright, so my next step is I want to clean off this flywheel as much as possible. So I'm gonna soak it in some vinegar. And this is like the only container that I've had and it's kind of huge. So to keep from wasting a ton of vinegar, I'm actually gonna go ahead and put like a little plastic lining in here. And then that'll make it so that way when I put the flywheel in, it'll push the plastic down and then it'll kind of create like a slope leading down to the center of mass. And then that way the vinegar will be more centralized around it and not just filling in all the corners of this bin. So we're gonna go ahead and set this up and then let this flywheel sit for, I don't know, probably like 8 to 12 hours. The video that I watched said that you could leave large components for like 18 to 24, but I'm not really worried about the entire surface of it. I just want this inside surface, so probably leave it for 8 to 10 hours and then see how it looks. And the vinegar I'm using for this is 5% acidity, and it's just regular white distilled vinegar. The video recommended not to use 3%, so I'm guessing that 3% isn't acidic enough to make this a quick process. So we're just gonna go ahead and use this, and hopefully we have enough. All right, so that just barely worked, but the flywheel is completely submerged, so we're just gonna let this sit. And in the meantime, we're gonna start working on the pilot bearing. So I just went ahead and rented this little like jaw puller thing from the auto parts store. I've never used one like this. The only ones I've used are the slide hammer, so I'm not entirely sure how it works. I think you just tighten this and it just like pushes it out or something. I don't know, I'll figure it out. All right, after a quick YouTube tutorial, I learned that I was doing everything right. It's just that this nut is the part that does the actual pulling. So yeah, I'm just kind of a goober, but it's okay because all you gotta do is just turn the handle until the jaws spread so that way it's inside of the pilot bearing. And then you just turn this nut here. Oh, if you hear that, that's a good sign. So you can see the pilot bearing is being pulled out as we rotate this. I know you can also use bread, but I decided that I didn't want to do it the whack way. And especially if I didn't need to, so what the heck? No, why is this rotating on me? There she goes. And there's our pilot bearing. Alright, so it's the next day, and I've been letting the flywheel sit overnight in the vinegar. I think it's doing a pretty good job of taking the rust off. I'm going to use this brush here to like kind of get some of it off, but I did a little bit of scrubbing, and I don't think it's going to get it as good as I wanted it to, unfortunately. So I've decided that I'm just going to go ahead and bite the bullet and get it resurfaced. I mean, that's the right way to do it. I thought that maybe I could get enough of the surface rust off to where the surface would be smooth, and I think it would be okay, but I'd rather just do it right the first time and just make this thing super nice. So I found a local shop that's gonna resurface this for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it over there, and then when we come back, we'll go ahead and get the throwout bearing mounted onto the pressure plate properly. And then once this is done, they said it wouldn't take very long to resurface. So once this is done, we'll go and pick it back up and then get the final assembly on the engine. Yeah, not too bad, but we can do better. Alright, so I made it back to the house, so the next step is going to be to shim the throwout bearing onto the pressure plate. So I'll show you what I mean here in a second. So the clutch comes with all these different shims and retainer clips and weird washers and things. The video that I watched, the guy had 4 shims, but mine only came with 3, and I believe that when he tried to put the 4th one on, it didn't work properly. So I'm just going to quickly show you the layout of how this goes on here. So you actually start with the throwout bearing. So it's going to go throwout bearing, and then we'll put our shims. So we're just going to go 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to take this washer. As you can see, it has a bit of like a round shape. So that is going to go like this, so as if the fingers are kind of pointing down towards the throwout bearing like this. And then after we have this stacked up, we grab our pressure plate, and it goes on it like so. Now we can put the retaining clip, which I believe goes like this, and then the little circlip goes in here. And they can be kind of tricky, but if you push it down, it should open up a gap enough to put the clip in. Keyword should. Force it in if I push down a little harder, but yeah, no. I'll just take out 1 shim and then try it again with 2, because it was pretty close.
Yeah.
I've actually never done a throwout bearing like this one before. The only ones I've done have been hydraulic throwout bearings.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. I think it should work. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, I got it.
Yep.
Sweet.
That's all you needed.
Yeah, so just 2 shims. That's interesting. Because the video, that dude had 3, and it went in perfectly. So I guess it's just...
Yeah, everybody's different, man. There's been times when I've used, like, even 1, dude.
Really? Damn.
Yeah.
Alright, guys, so it's been a little while. I've got the flywheel back. I'm going to show it to you guys here in a second. Colby's out here, too. He's going to help me because I need the crankshaft to be held in place while I tighten the bolts on the flywheel. But I just have to say, there've been a lot of you guys been kind of preying on my downfall, including Colby. and everybody in our friend group has made the meme that Kaidan is now the man that doesn't complete his project. So this video is where things are going to turn around. The start of change, because we're getting the clutch put back on this engine, And then I don't think there's anything else stopping me from putting this engine in the car. So it's happening soon. And you're gonna be the first to see it.
I'll be the first to see it.
So here's our freshly machined flywheel. I kind of like that it still has like the old flywheel aesthetic because he just machined the contact surface and then cleaned up the rest. So it's the original flywheel as far as I know. So it's kind of a relic, if you will. So we're gonna go ahead and put that on. We've got the new flywheel bolts and then we'll get the clutch on there.
Yeah.
Alright. Oh shit, careful.
Shit. I think.
Here, can you hold this?
Yeah.
Make sure, careful. Make sure it doesn't fall off of there. Boy, hold on to
I'm
that.
holding it.
Boy!
Jesus.
Yeah, you're chilling now. You're still holding it. The clutch is on.
Just in case.
Engine is in the car. You're still holding on.
Go. Drive.
Yeah, all these forums said that the
move.
flywheel bolts weren't reusable, so I had to wait forever for these to come in. But I never questioned why they aren't reusable. And I know that other people have reused flywheel bolts before because I have a friend that like, I mean, not that he's the end all be all, but I've seen him go to like junkyards and pull flywheel bolts off of other cars and be like, yep, these are good. You gotta just go and collect flywheel bolts. And I'm like, okay, so he's reusing flywheel bolts, so why do mine have to be replaced? I'm not gonna impact them down, like, but I'm just gonna, you know, just kind of generally tighten. All right, now we gotta torque them. Yeah, dude, that was sick. That felt really good. The crankshaft is gonna be trying to rotate to the right, so you're gonna try to keep it the opposite way, to the left. Well, it'll still be to the right, but from this perspective. What are you doing?
I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, you gotta. No, I'm tightening those bolts. I need you to hold this.
Oh,
Because the crankshaft has the. No, from over there.
From
Here.
over here? Okay, I got
Yeah.
you. I got you. I got it now.
Yeah.
Goddamn much.
Sorry, I guess I could have done a better job explaining that.
You probably could have, but it's
Right.
okay.
Basically, wherever you feel the force, you're gonna fight against me.
Fight against it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, gearbox side. That's English. Okay, well, the first 90% of it was in German, and then it says gearbox side. We're good. That means
We're good.
That means that this is the side that goes towards the gearbox, which will be this way. Now the pressure plate. Now I gotta unbag each bolt one at a time.
You didn't unbag it before you had me hold this heavy ass pressure plate? Come on.
Chill. Time to unbag the next bolt.
Theoretically, I should be able to go now. Nope.
Well,
No.
yeah, maybe just.
I just have to.
Just
I don't
hang tight.
have to use as much pressure now. I just have to hold it in place.
Yeah. Even still, I think if you had to like scratch your balls or something, you're probably fine. But
Hey, yo, get your man. The fact that you have to individually unbag each one.
unbag the next one. Dude, these bolts actually look so cool.
They really do, though.
I know that no one's gonna see it because it's gonna be in the
You have
housing, but
you have documented footage though of how good they look.
That's true.
I mean, my hand's in the way, but you know.
You may get all the girls, but my flywheel looks dapper as hell. Alright, so I was making a mistake here. So I was wondering why the pressure plate wasn't going on tight, even though the bolts were all the way in. And then I realized that I forgot to put the ring gear from this pressure plate onto the new pressure plate. So I'm gonna have to heat this up so that way I can get this ring gear off, and then I'll be able to transfer it over. And then that way, this little like inner lining of where these bolts go will have a slight space, and then everything will fit just right. But yeah, that was kind of stupid, but it's okay. Like there's not a problem. It's just I messed up. So I gotta get this off of here, and then we'll transfer it over. All right, guys, so the wait is finally over. I know for you guys it's only been a couple seconds, but for me it's been a week. I finally got all the parts back from the machine shop, so let me just quickly explain what happened. So this is the old pressure plate, and if you guys remember, it had the ring gear on it. This is the new pressure plate, and now the ring gear is on here. So essentially, it's kind of like press fit onto there, or I guess the guy at the machine shop explained it better than me. It's not, technically it's not a press fit, but it just kind of squeezes it tightly, so I guess technically it is a press fit? I don't really know. It has these little aligning tools, but you have to heat it up to get the ring gear off of here. And he said that once I put the pressure plate onto the flywheel, it'll seat down on there perfectly. But basically, I couldn't bring myself to put this in the oven at my house. I was gonna feel bad if I jammed this rusty old pressure plate into the oven. Like, I got roommates and stuff, and it was just easier for me to pay the machine shop to do it, and they only charged me $25. It just seemed like a win-win, but they were kind of busy this week, so I had to wait until Friday to get it back. That's not really a big deal because now we have every single component that we need. Put the clutch on the engine. I just realized that I went through and torqued all the bolts and I forgot to press record like a freaking idiot, but all the bolts are tightened on the pressure plate, so I'm pretty sure we're good now. Yep. Clutch stays in place. I'm also gonna go ahead and just kind of clean this off a little bit because it was set on the table. Look at that. That's friggin' perfect. With that, I think we're pretty much done. The next step is gonna be to get the bell housing all lined up, and I'm just gonna clean it up off camera. I won't bore you guys with that. So this is gonna conclude today's video. I know this has been kind of a weird, long process, but I hope you guys have enjoyed watching. If you liked today's video, make sure you leave a like down below. Consider subscribing and tuning back in because this engine is going back in the car very soon, and then we're getting the Mustang back in here. So lots of cool stuff to come. I hope you guys are looking forward to it. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out and dream big.